5 spine-chilling true tales of the eerie and haunting moments when you were watched in Inglewood Lane, a quiet suburban neighborhood in Ohio. The unassuming houses stood like sentinels, casting elongated shadows under the fading light. Yet, beneath their tranquil exteriors lurked an unsettling intensity, a magnetic pull that whispered of an unseen presence. Laura, a determined 35-year-old single mother, often felt the weight of eyes upon her, a chill creeping down her spine that she could neither shake nor define. Raising her 9-year-old daughter, Emma, in this seemingly perfect cul-de-sac, she prided herself on self-reliance but was now trapped in a grip of growing unease. Flickering lights in Emma's room at dusk felt like a warning, a sign that something insidious lurked in the periphery of their safe haven. Each morning, Laura would step into Emma's room to find the toys rearranged, creating impressions of tiny, phantom fingers at play. Was it Emma's imagination? Something deeper? An icy breath slid down her back when she noticed the Rodriguez family, across the street, stepping onto their porch with frightened expressions, glancing nervously toward their overgrown backyard. They too felt it, the sense of being watched, their backyard barbecues now haunted by a simmering dread. Bound by old tales of the abandoned house at the end of the street, the neighborhood was alive with rumors of its cursed past. For years, kids dared each other to venture near its rotting doors, where the air felt thick and history dripped from the peeling paint. The settlers who once called it home had met dark fates, their stories buried beneath layers of mold, leaving behind anguished cries that clawed at the hearts of the living. As Laura pieced together the strange phenomena, a knot tightened in her stomach. Could the shadows be connected to that very house? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As they gathered under the relentless storm one night, each shared terrifying tales of sighting shadowy figures and disturbing noises, mingling with the wind and rain that clawed at their windows. Fear held them tightly, but realization began to set in. Together, they were stronger than the weight of their individual fears. The truth about their haunted history loomed over them like a storm cloud, just waiting to burst. The air thickened with desperation when Laura, trembling slightly, echoed their fears. It was time to confront whatever haunted them. Suddenly, a resounding crash echoed from the kitchen, a stark reminder of their fragility. Shattered glass sprayed like rain across the floor as all hope seemed to splinter amidst the chaos. They stared into each other's eyes, a symphony of terror resonating between them. In that moment, as shadows danced on the walls, they had a choice: brave the mysteries of the haunted house or succumb to the chilling whispers of despair. Standing on the precipice of the unknown, their hearts raced as they linked arms against the darkness, wrestling with the question that loomed large: would they dare to uncover the secrets that clung to their neighborhood, or would they remain haunted forever by the past? The wind howled outside as Laura and her neighbors stood in a tight circle, uncertainty clinging to them like the dampness of the storm. The kitchen, once a gathering place filled with laughter, now felt cursed, its corners draped in shadows. The shattered glass sparkled on the floor, glistening like tiny stars fallen from the sky, yet their beauty was marred by the ominous nature of their source. Maybe it's just the wind, Sam, the Rodriguez family father, suggested, his voice wavering. But deep down, they all sensed the lie hanging heavily in the air. This eerie feeling wasn't just a figment of their imagination. Something was wrong. Darker than any storm outside, Laura clenched Emma's hand tightly, her 9-year-old daughter's eyes wide with fear, reflecting the raw terror that gripped her heart. "We need to go to that house," she said, her voice steady despite the knots twisting in her gut. The air was thick with hesitation. What lay behind those rotting doors? Ghosts of the past? The whispers of the settlers lost to time? Each of them was haunted not only by the stories but by the reality that something beyond comprehension could be waiting for them. "Is this really a good idea?" Emma asked, her small voice breaking the tension, bringing them back to the present. Laura knelt down, meeting her daughter's fearful gaze. Sometimes, the only way to take back control is to confront what scares us the most. Together. As the words left her mouth, the very atmosphere shifted. A cold breeze slithered through the room, carrying with it a hushed whisper that seemed to resonate with the secrets of the house. Determined, they stepped outside. The rain drizzled down as if to cleanse them of their trepidation. The night was dark, but the light from their cell phones illuminated their path, casting long, looming shadows. Heartbeats synchronized with their cautious steps, thwopping against the stillness, echoing a shared resolve but also their deep-seated fears. As they approached the dilapidated house, the stories crashed into their minds like waves. It was here the lost souls lingered, the cries of torment, the flickering lights, the whispers that coated the walls like a fine mist. With each step, trepidation mounted until the door loomed before them, its cracked surface telling tales of neglect and sorrow. Whose idea was this again? Someone muttered, humor skirting the edge of desperation. It was mine, Laura replied, pushing down her rising doubts. If we don't do this now, it may haunt us forever. The group huddled together, exhaling shaky breaths as they laid their hands on the tattered door. It creaked open, revealing darkness that swallowed their light, urging them in. It felt alive and pulsating with the memories of those who had tread this path long before them. Inside, the air shifted, a tangible force welcomed them, wrapping them in a cold embrace that made their skin prickle. Was it fear or was it the spirit of past regrets? Shadows danced mockingly across the floor, pushing deep into the corners of their subconscious. A sudden crash echoed from the heart of the house, ringing like a bell through the silence, freezing them in place. Did you hear that? Emma squeaked, her small face twisted in terror. Before Laura could respond, a faint glow flickered deep within the house, drawing them closer, hidden among the contours of fear. It was a light, faint yet compelling, beckoning them to discover what lay beyond the next curtain of darkness. Do we go in? Sam asked, glancing at the others with fear and curiosity mingling in his eyes. Yeah, we go in, Laura declared, forcing courage into her voice as their hearts raced in chorus. They slowly moved forward as a unit, a single heartbeat pounding in fear of what waited ahead. What truth lay behind that haunting glow? Would they uncover the secrets of the cursed home or find themselves trapped in darkness forever? They stepped inside, and the door creaked shut behind them like a prison lock. The air hung thick and heavy, suffocating them with its chill. The glow pulsed, pulsating like a heartbeat, coaxing them forward into the clawing dark. With trepidation, they made their way deeper into the house, guided by that elusive light flickering somewhere ahead. Stay close, Laura whispered, feeling Emma's small frame shiver beside her. She could barely see the outlines of the others but sensed their struggles against the creeping fear. As they dared to move deeper, a soft moan drifted through the shadows, winding its way into their ears. It sounded human yet otherworldly, echoing through the cracked walls. Is someone there? Laura called out, her voice trembling against the silence, swallowed by the suffocating darkness, but there was no response, only more whispers, softer this time, weaving through the air like mist. Each word felt like icy fingers brushing against their skin. Was it a warning? A plea? She looked at Sam, whose wide eyes mirrored her own disquiet. Emma squeezed her hand tighter, her little fingers like a vice grip. Then, abruptly, the light flared brighter, illuminating the hallway ahead. They all froze. Scattered pieces of furniture, draped in cobwebs, began to take form, the remnants of a life trapped in that dreadful space. And at the end of the hall was a door, slightly ajar, the glow spilling out from within. Should we just? Sam started, but his words were cut off when the door swung open with a loud bang. The sound echoed, ricocheted down the hall, sending them all stumbling back in shock. An eerie stillness fell, as if the house itself held its breath. The light from the other room flickered erratically, casting shadows that danced along the walls. Dancing figures, or were they memories? Maybe we should turn back, Sam suggested, desperation growing in his voice. But it was too late. Laura felt compelled to move forward, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and something else, curiosity. She could almost hear the house calling to her, begging to reveal its secrets. With a deep breath, she took a step toward the glowing door. Each footfall echoed louder than the last as she approached it, the others trailing behind her like reluctant shadows. She pushed the door open wider, gasping at what lay beyond. Inside lay a room adorned with faded photographs, each captured moment whispering a story untold. And in the center of it all, a small table held an object that glimmered enticingly, a vintage lantern, its flame bright and undying amidst the decay that surrounded it. The lantern was unlike any other she had seen, ethereal, almost alive. As she reached out to touch it, a cold breeze whipped through the room, extinguishing the light for a fraction of a second. They all gasped, feeling the darkness wrap around them, thick and suffocating. When the flame relit itself, they gasped in horror. Standing before them, a figure emerged from the shadows, bathed in the lantern's flickering glow. It was a woman, her expression caught between sorrow and fury. The air crackled with tension, choking them in its grip. "Why are you here?" the figure demanded, her voice a mixture of despair and anger, echoing through the dim chamber. The room felt alive again, the shadows swirling and pulsing, as if they were responding to the woman's fury. Laura glanced back at her friends, their faces pale, their eyes wide with terror. "We just came to see," Laura stammered, panic coursing through her veins. The woman took a step closer, her voice dropping to a whisper that wrapped around them like chains. "Then you've come to find the truth and to face what lies within your own hearts." As she spoke, the flame flickered wildly. The walls seemed to lean in, listening, waiting for their response. Tension hung thick in the air, each breath feeling heavier than the last. What truth awaited them within the ghostly whispers of the past? Would confronting it bring salvation or deeper damnation? As the lantern remained the only source of light, Laura felt an insatiable pull to understand just how intertwined their fates truly were. But as she opened her mouth to respond, the lights flickered once again, plunging them momentarily into darkness. The whispers grew into a cacophony, drowning out her voice as fear clutched at them like icy fingers. Then, before they could react, the lantern flickered one last time, and everything went dark. What had they awakened in that cursed house? Would they ever escape the truth they were about to confront? The darkness swallowed them whole. It was alive, pressing against their chests, making it hard to breathe. Laura blinked, trying to adjust to the void, but the air felt heavy, like wet wool wrapped tightly around her. She could barely hear Emma, soft whimpers of fear cutting through the silence, while Sam's breath quickened next to her. The chill had deepened, making her shiver not just from cold, but from dread. Suddenly, a sharp light pierced the dark. The lantern flared back to life, casting eerie shadows that leapt wildly across the walls. The woman stood in the center of the room, her piercing gaze locked onto Laura. "Do you believe in ghosts?" she whispered, her words coiling around them like a serpent. The question hung in the air, thick and foreboding. I don't know," Laura managed to stammer, the truth escaping her on trembling lips. She could feel the pulse of fear racing in her veins. The woman stepped closer, the flickering light revealing the depths of her torment. "You're not just here to witness memories. You're here to confront them." Who are you?" Emma squeaked, clinging tighter to Laura's side. Laura turned slightly, shielding her friend, instinctively wanting to protect her from whatever horror lurked in the dying glow. "I am the keeper of this house, a prisoner of my own past. And like you," she pointed a trembling finger at each of them, "you carry your own shadows." Panic surged through Laura. Shadows? What shadows? The whispers that had filled the air before roared back, rising like a tempest. They buzzed around her, a chorus of tortured souls calling for release, drowning her senses. "Face your fears," the woman cried, her voice rising above the din. "Only then can you forge your path." With those words, the lantern's flame flickered again, illuminating an alcove behind the woman. Inside, Laura could make out a mirror, a dark, cracked surface that rippled ominously like water disturbed. "Look into it," the woman urged, her voice lacing Laura's mind with urgency. Your truths lie within. No, no, that can't be right. Sam shook his head, stepping back. But the mirror's pull was irresistible, tugging at Laura in a way she never expected. Don't fight it. You came seeking answers. Look. Emma's eyes widened, reflecting the fear and fascination battling within Laura. Taking a steadying breath, Laura moved toward the mirror, drawn by an unseen thread. She wiped the dust from its surface with trembling fingers. The reflection that stared back was foreign, distorted. It was not just her face she saw but shadows dancing behind her, figures that moved with brittle grace, mere whispers of anguish frozen in time. Memories flooded her mind. A feeling long buried, breathing life back into her fears. Faces she had tried to forget, lost moments, and mistakes clawed at her insides, raw and unhealed. Laura, don't! Emma cried, reaching out. But it was too late. The mirror showed her more: the darkness that had chased her throughout her life, the decisions that haunted her, the choices that led them here. Then, suddenly, a piercing scream shattered the echoing silence. Laura recoiled, fear gripping her like a vice. The scream echoed in her mind, merging with the whispers of the room. What was happening? Face it. The voice of the woman cracked through the others. Or be forever shackled to it. The lantern sputtered as shadows writhed, the figure of the woman merging into their forms, the darkness swirling and closing in on them. With mounting horror, Laura screamed back at the howling void, I'm not afraid. In that instant, the room shifted, shadows contorted, and she found herself standing at a crossroads, the whispers intensifying around her. Would she embrace her fears or let them consume her? As the shadows enveloped the room, the echoes began to transform, forming a question that would dictate their fate. What will you sacrifice to find the truth? In the chaos, Laura couldn't tell what was real anymore. The weight of dread pressed down on her, and the fire of resolve ignited brighter than before. But before she could react, darkness took her once more, plunging her into a void of uncertainty. What truths lay ahead in this disturbing realm? Would they emerge with their hearts intact, or lose themselves forever in the haunting whispers of the past? The room twisted, flickering shadows fluttering like moths against the dim beams of the lantern. Laura felt disoriented, as if the ground had disappeared beneath her feet. Emma's hands clutched her arm, nails digging in, grounding her in this chaos. Sam's voice trembled beside them, a raw edge of panic. What do we do? We can't stay here. But the shadows beckoned. They danced, shifting, revealing glimpses of some other reality, this distorted reflection of their own lives. It was terrifying yet irresistibly magnetic. As the whispers grew louder, a chill ran down Laura's spine. The crossroads sprawled before her, an impossible choice. The left path, dark and suffocating, led into the unknown. The right path shone faintly, hinting at clarity and truth but also the potential for deeper pain. The decision swarmed around her like wasps, sharp and stinging. Laura. Emma's voice broke through the rising tide of confusion. What are you seeing? I can't tell. It's all so mixed up, Laura replied, her voice barely above a whisper. A fog of unworded fears clung to her, escalating her heartbeat. Suddenly, the woman the keeper manifested from the shadows, her gaze piercing into Laura's soul. Your fears give life to these echoes, Laura. They know you, they feed on your regrets. Why did you run? Run? The word echoed hollowly in her mind. Had she really? It was like a stone dropped into water, rippling memories surfacing. She remembered the door she never opened, the questions she had buried. A strong gust swept through, extinguishing the lantern's flame. Darkness swallowed them once more, and panic rose as night surrounded them. Laura's heart thudded in her chest like a trapped bird. Emma. Sam. Right here, Sam said, tension lacing his voice. Where's the light? I can't see. Emma's whimper pierced through the oppressive gloom, and then came a throaty laugh, low and rasping, a voice that reeked of malice. "You're all lost in my domain now. Who are you?" Laura forced the words out, though her throat felt as if it were closing. No answer came, only more laughter that wrapped around them like a shroud. Beneath the fear, something sparked within her, a flicker of defiance. "We can't stay here," she stated, each word gaining strength. "We need to face it, whatever it is." The air shifted again, the whispers intensifying as if the darkness mocked her resolve. "What will you sacrifice to find the truth?" A voice slithered through the shadows like a serpent. "I don't know." Laura cried out, desperation twisting in her gut. "I just want to know." "Then look." The shadows writhed, forming images against the void. Fragments of her life, choices that shattered friendships, moments drowned in sorrow, the faces of those she had hurt. Each image slammed into her like fists, drawing out tears of remorse. "No, no." Laura protested, but she felt the truth clawing its way to the surface, desperate to be acknowledged. "You think you can face us?" The voice taunted, weaving between memories and darkness, reverberating through her skull. "You think this pain is yours alone?" Laura shook her head, fighting against the tide of revelations. Then a single thought crystallized amidst the chaos: if these shadows represented her fears, wouldn't he embracing them be the only way to break free? With fierce determination, she stepped forward, heart pounding. "I choose to see." The power of her declaration rippled through the air, colliding with the darkness. But before she could comprehend its impact, the ground shifted beneath her, the atmosphere boiled, the shadows recoiling, and the room pulsated with energy. It was an awakening, a shift in the fabric of reality, but what would it reveal? Would Laura be granted the strength to overcome, or would she be consumed by what lay ahead? As the echoes subsided and the shadows crept back, a single promise lingered in the air: accept what you fear the most. With a heavy breath, she stood on the precipice of her own liberation, waiting for the next move. But how far was she willing to go to uncover the truth? What awaited them next in this grotesque dance of memories? Only time would tell, but one thing was certain: the shadows weren't done with them yet. The ground trembled underfoot, vibrating with an energy that was both exhilarating and terrifying. The room swayed, thickening with shadows that seemed to breathe. Laura's pulse raced as the darkness collided with her resolve, testing her at every turn. "Hold on to each other," she shouted over the chaos, grasping Emma's arm tightly. Sam clutched her other side, and for a moment, their connection felt like a lifeline. Together, they faced the swirling abyss. "Look!" Emma pointed, her voice fraught with urgency. The shadows shifted, morphing into a haunting tableau of their past, a world wrought with their mistakes splattered across the walls like grotesque murals. Sounds of distant laughter echoed, memories they thought they had sealed away. "Why are they showing us this?" Sam whispered, his fear palpable. "We don't need to see, we already know." "No," Laura said, steeling herself. "We need to confront it. Maybe knowing what we fear can set us free." As if summoned by her words, one image broke free from the mass of shadows, a glowing figure of a woman with sorrow etched into her features. Laura felt her heart lurch. It was her mother, a specter of lost times, draped in shadows. "Mom?" The word escaped her, laced with desperation. "Why did you leave me?" The woman's voice reverberated, echoing through the darkness. A howl of wind rushed around them, drowning out Laura's instinct to respond. The pain of her mother's question struck like a lightning bolt, igniting long-buried guilt. "I wanted to protect you," Laura shouted back, surprised by the strength in her own voice. "But I was scared. I didn't know how to face you." Thin tendrils of darkness curled around her, tightening as the shadows reacted to her turmoil. Other figures emerged, the faces of people she had pushed away, their eyes vacant and haunting. Friends, old partners, all reaching out with silent pleas. Each familiar face of hurt cut into her soul, amplifying her agony. "What do you want from us?" she yelled, anger sparking through her fear. We are not afraid anymore. Suddenly, the figures jerked backward, and the room quaked violently. With each tremor, the shadows hissed like a raging wind, threatening to engulf them completely. Face it. The keeper's voice boomed, fierce and commanding. Embrace your truth, or spiral down and lose yourselves forever. Emma screamed, we can't hold on to all this. It'll destroy us. Let it go. Sam shouted. Whatever it is, we can't let it define us. With that proclamation ringing in her ears, Laura's heart filled with determination. The whirlwind of shadows thickened around her, but rather than feel fear, chains of sadness began to fall away. I am not afraid to face my past. Laura cried out, her voice rising above the cacophony. I embrace the pain. I acknowledge my regrets. Then, an intense light erupted from her core, a beam piercing through the suffocating darkness. The shadows crumbled, retreating like a tide drawn back from the shore. What is happening? Emma gasped, unable to look away. The figures began to dissolve into glimmers of light, their faces softening into expressions of forgiveness. Each of them smiling as they drifted away, and with them, the burden Laura had carried for so long released into the void. But as the light faded, and silence wrapped around them once again, a new sound began to echo through the darkness. A low, menacing growl filled the air, followed by an unsettling whisper. Not all shadows will vanish, not yet. The chill seeped into their bones, and Laura felt an icy hand grip her heart. What lay beneath the remnants of their own pasts? This was only the beginning. The shadows had exposed their fear, but something darker was still lurking. In that moment of uneasy calm, they realized the road ahead was fraught with unknown dangers. Could they withstand whatever else these shadows had in store? But as new images began to flicker in the corner of their eyes, the dread wrapped around them like a vice, chanting one ominous phrase, prepare for the ultimate reckoning. The shadows quivered at Laura's feet, thrumming with a sinister energy. An anxious silence replaced the storm of sound, keeping their breaths shallow. The flickering images darted around the edges of her vision, fragments of a reality she didn't recognize, yet felt equipped to challenge. They pulsed, drawing her in. Stay focused, Laura urged, squeezing Emma's hand tighter. She saw the resolve in Emma's eyes falter slightly, a flicker of fear mingling with grasping hope. Sam stood between them, his jaw set, ready for whatever would manifest next. Another growl reverberated through the dim chaos, primal and chilling. It rolled over them like a heavy fog, thickening the atmosphere. Laura's heart pounded, she could almost feel the fear ripple through the air. Whatever it is, we have to face it together, she reminded them, her voice steady, though her insides trembled. Emma nodded, determination igniting in her gaze. Suddenly, a lightning-like crack erupted above them, illuminating a grotesque figure swirling out from a dense cloud of shadows. It towered taller than any human, its features jagged and indistinct, a twisted mask of torment. Your past will haunt you. The voice boomed, reverberating painfully against the walls. You cannot escape. Every memory Laura thought she'd cast aside now surged up, filling the room with a thick stench of regret. Faces flashed her father's disappointment, friends scorned, nights lost to addiction. The darkness snickered as it laid the burden of her history at her feet. We're done hiding. Laura shouted defiantly, stepping forward without hesitation, her body unwittingly blocking Emma and Sam from view. We are not afraid anymore. Remember that, the monstrous figure spat, its voice echoing like thunder. Each of you carries a darkness. Laura felt her chest constrict, a smothering weight that threatened to suffocate her spirit. But shaking off the darkness, she pressed on, refusing to be paralyzed by fear. No. You have no power over us. The figure hesitated, its form briefly wavering under the intensity of Laura's defiance. An unexpected flash of light burst from her core again, illuminating the creature. For a fleeting moment, she glimpsed the agony it housed, the same agony she had been trying to escape for too long. Not everyone can be saved, not everyone will forgive, it snarled, but Laura noticed its confidence waver. Your hold over us is fading. Emma's voice rang out strong, emboldened by Laura's bravery, her own light blooming alongside Laura's. As if summoned, Sam too stepped forward, joined hands in solidarity. Together, we will confront you. Our pasts do not define us. A riptide of power swept through them, swirling in a vibrant vortex that consumed the shadows. The figure shrieked, its voice losing any semblance of authority. The room erupted into blinding light as spectral remnants of their past attempts to creep back surged forward, desperate and craving acknowledgement. The monstrous shape twisted, trying to escape the light, morphing and writhing like a beast in its death throes. And then, just as quickly, it imploded, leaving behind echoes of pain and a new chilling silence. But that silence was suddenly sliced open by another sound: shuffling wings, echoes of claws scraping against cold stone. A dark fissure opened nearby, revealing a world far grimmer than what they had just faced, a dimension filled with countless horrors, shadows looming larger than the ones they had known. What is that? Emma stammered, her voice shaking. Laura and Sam exchanged terrified glances. We must go deeper, Sam whispered, as if accepting the inevitable. The shadows pushed against them, beckoning them toward the gaping void. Were they ready for what lay ahead? As the crack widened, a chill rushed through Laura. What awaited them on the other side? All she knew was that the real battle was about to begin. Do you hear them? Laura breathed, her pulse racing again. They're waiting for us. With each step, the darkness encroached, and a haunting cackle filled the air. It was a call to adventure, a dance with danger. The reckoning had begun, and neither of them knew how deep it would go. The darkness swallowed them whole, pulling them into the abyss. Laura led the charge, heart pounding wildly in her chest, each echo of her footfalls swallowed by the yawning void. An unsettling whisper flickered in her mind, echoing the grotesque voice they had just faced. Where are you going? You can't outrun your truth, it hissed. No! Laura shouted, panic flaring. It wanted to sow doubt, to grasp at her mind like the shadows clung to the walls. She shoved the thoughts away, digging deeper into her resolve. Emma and Sam followed, eyes wide, breaths rapid. They were united, a fragile shield against the terror that surrounded them. A low growl rumbled from the depths of the fissure, dragging them further in. The air grew heavy, thick with the stench of decay and despair. What waited on the other side was undeniably worse than what they had faced before. Suddenly, the shadows shifted again, swirling in a tempest. They took on forms, distorted faces, lost emotions, reflections of everything they had ever wanted to escape. Laura recoiled as memories betrayed her, morphing into twisted apparitions that howled under the weight of their pain. Look! Emma cried, pointing to a shadow that took the shape of Laura's father. But his face was wrong, twisted, angry, full of bitterness that made her blood run cold. Daddy! No! Laura gasped. She turned, her instinct to shield Emma from this hideous manifestation, but it fed off her horror. Remember who you are. Sam shouted, voice laced with desperation. We're not here to relive our nightmares. Stop feeding the darkness. Emma added, tears streaming down her cheeks. The swell of their love forged a barrier, momentarily holding back the tide. For a brief moment, the apparitions hesitated, hesitant shadows flickering as if vibrating against an unseen force. But then monstrosities lunged forward, with wild eyes and gaping mouths, eager to consume their souls. Fight it! Laura's voice rang out, fierce determination electrifying her words. These are our pasts, yes, but they don't own us. Her heart surged with an explosion of light. It felt like a fire igniting her very core. In unison, Emma and Sam raised their arms. A bright blast erupted from them, a beacon pushing back against the consuming darkness. The shadows screamed, contorting in pain as clarity pierced through their grotesque forms, yet, the shadows were relentless. A ferocious wind swept through the void, and the fissure around them began to fracture. The ground trembled beneath their feet, a cacophony of laughter and cries rose to a fever pitch, mingling with echoes from the other side. "Do you hear it?" Sam yelled, straining against the chaos. "It's calling us back. I want to go back." Laura screamed, raw determination coursing through her veins. "We decide what we become." The moment of clarity ignited a spark in Emma's eyes. "Together!" she shouted, igniting the power they all held. They clasped hands once more, grounding one another, pushing through the oppressive darkness. They stepped forward, their light shimmering, quaking the shadows, turning the tide of hopelessness into a surge of resilience, but just as they felt the moments shift, a thunderous roar erupted behind them, shaking the very fabric of their reality. A massive silhouette emerged from the shadows, towering and grotesque, with eyes like molten lava fixed on them. "Your light will not protect you from the inevitable." It bellowed, a malevolence that struck them with freezing fear. Carved into its face were lines of anguish that mirrored the pain they had just fought, but amplified into something monstrous. "Run!" Laura yelled, but it was too late. The chasm beneath them began to crumble, revealing a pit of despair that seemed to go on forever. With every ounce of her strength, Laura pulled Emma and Sam into motion as the ground gave way. They soared into the unknown, screaming, plunging into the depths of their fate. Would they find salvation or be swallowed whole by the darkness they thought they had conquered? As they fell, the air turned electric with tension, their lives hanging on a precipice. "Hold on, we're not done yet." Laura shouted into the void, defiance lacing her words as they spiraled into the abyss. The plunge felt endless. Every heartbeat echoed in Laura's ears like a countdown, a grim reminder that they were spiraling into the unknown. It wasn't just the fear of falling, it was the all-consuming dread of what awaited them at the bottom. Emma's voice broke through the chaos, strained and trembling. "What do we do, Laura? What if this is it? We fight." Laura shouted back, turning her focus inward, summoning every ounce of strength and hope she had left. The darkness was alive, swirling around them, tugging at their limbs as if it wanted to pull them apart. Each breath felt heavier, suffocated by the shadows clawing for their very souls. But an ember of defiance glowed within Laura's heart, igniting a flicker of light amidst the encroaching void. "Keep your eyes on me," she yelled as they fell deeper, adrenaline surging through her, knitting them tighter together in the midst of chaos. Sam gripped Emma's hand with a fierce urgency. "Think of the light. Remember that we're stronger together." His voice, though shaky, possessed a spark that echoed through the void. Laura felt buoyed by their shared resolve. The air twisted with a howl, taunting them, a cacophony of their past traumas taunting, returning to their minds. Visages of lost moments flashed like a strobe light, regrets, worries, expectations all clawed at them, desperately seeking to latch on. "No!" Laura shouted at the dim memories, throwing them off like a shroud. "You do not define us." Suddenly, their trajectory shifted. It wasn't just a stomach-tightening fall anymore, it felt like they were soaring upwards, propelled by the force of their unity. As if responding to her shout, a rippling vortex of light began to extend around them, flickering against the consuming dark. There's something up ahead." Emma pointed as a distant glow began to illuminate their descent, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. Hope surged through Laura like wildfire. They could reach it. They had to, but the darkness was relentless. Tendrils snaked through the air, clawing at their legs, pulling them back with a hunger that chilled Laura to her core. She could almost hear it whispering sweetly, "Don't go. Stay with me and forget no." She screamed, fighting back the creeping doubt. The luminous warmth intensifying around them felt like a promise that they could break free. Pushing their way upward against the weight of despair, they reached out, hands clasped tightly. The warmth enveloped them, growing stronger with their determination. It coiled around their forms, forming a protective barrier against the encroaching darkness. The air crackled as they drew closer to the light. It reverberated with the resonance of laughter, joy, and warmth. Their childhood memories intertwined, family dinners, laughter echoing in vibrant gardens, and peaceful moments that had drifted too far from their now. Then, a sudden, deafening roar erupted, shaking the very fabric of their being. The monster's silhouette loomed ahead, its molten eyes burning with fury. "You think you can escape? You belong to me. Not today." Laura shouted defiantly, a surge of adrenaline pushing her forward. They reached the heart of the light, a blinding brilliance filling the chasm. In that flash of illumination, everything slowed. They could see the creature in its full form, every twisted feature reflecting their darkest fears. But they also saw the light wrapping around them like a mother's embrace, shielding them from the darkness. As the light intensified, Laura felt herself being lifted. The weight of despair evaporated as they were pulled into the brilliance, heartbeats synchronizing in unison. But just as they crossed the threshold into the light, a shadowy tendril shot forward. It wrapped around Laura's ankle, digging deep, pulling her back with a ferocious strength. "No! Don't let go!" Emma screamed, terror lacing her voice as they reached for her, fingers grazing against her own. With a final surge, Laura grasped at Emma and Sam, their hands nearly touching, but the shadows pulled her backward. As the darkness yanked her further, she felt herself slipping, frantically searching for a grip, a spark of hope to pull her free. The light pulsed one last time, enveloping Emma and Sam in an ethereal glow as Laura was dragged deeper into the shadows. "Leave me! Go!" Laura shouted, desperation crashing against her heart like a wave, but her friends held fast, unwilling to relent. A primal roar erupted from the depths as the shadows closed in, and Laura felt the barrier between her and the light shatter. The echoes of her friends' voices became distorted, swirling around her. And then, silence, the chasm opening wide to engulf her whole. As the shadows clung to her, she could feel herself fading, consciousness slipping away into the dark. What had they awakened in the dark? What part of their past would they now have to face? In the depths of despair, Laura's voice echoed back to her, "We decide what we become," but would they be able to reclaim her before it was too late? The darkness felt endless, consuming, and suffocating. Laura floated in a void, her body weightless yet heavy with dread. Breaths came in short gasps as flashes of memory surged, faces of loved ones, laughter, happiness, all ghostly remnants, teasing her with the life she wanted to reclaim. The cold of despair gnawed at her bones, and yet a flicker of light began to emerge. "Laura!" Emma's voice echoed through the void, a tether pulling her back from despair. Her heart throbbed with urgency. "Mom! We need you!" Suddenly, a warmth washed over her, igniting her from within. She blinked, seeking the source. The once dim light from her memories coalesced before her, swirling with energy and vitality. It spun in a vibrant dance, illuminating the darkness that pressed against her. Together, Laura whispered, recalling their promise amidst the horrors. The shadows might swallow her whole, but she wouldn't abandon her daughter, her friend. She could feel their determination, even though they were far away. Their bond surged within her, a breath of life flooding her very essence. She concentrated, focusing on their faces, their strength, their unwavering belief. She reached out against the overwhelming darkness, intangible fingers clawing her back from the brink. "Emma! Sam!" She called out, inviting their light to merge with her own. Light erupted in response, spilling like honey, thick and sweet, wrapping around her like a warm blanket. In that moment, it became clear that the shadows were nothing but echoes of fear. They had no real power unless she allowed them to control her. "Let me go!" She yelled at the darkness, finding her voice amidst the chaos. "I am done running." With a defiant roar, she pushed against the shadows trying to claim her. The light around her responded, pulsing with encouragement. The dichotomy of despair and hope folded into each other like a tidal wave, crashing through the void. "Mom! Keep fighting. We believe in you." Emma's voice cut through the haze like a beacon. It was enough. That love, that belief powerful and unwavering wrapped around Laura, pulling her toward whatever lay beyond the darkness. The spectral tendrils of the shadows recoiled, uncertain of their claim on her. Suddenly, like an explosion, she burst free from their grip. Time felt suspended as light enveloped her, lifting her from the clutches of despair. Her heart raced as she spiraled upward, the familiar warmth of her daughter's light merging with her own once more. And then, with a brilliant flash, she emerged in the heart of the storm back with Emma and Sam, both of them glowing with a fierce joy. They stood in a hall still littered with shadows, but now, the malevolence around them shrank, quaking in the presence of their unity. Together, Laura shouted, and they formed a tight circle, linking arms, defiance pooling in their hearts. The shadows writhed, but the glow from their combined light battered away at the darkness, dissolving its hold piece by piece. "You have no power!" Laura screamed, and her voice cracked through the shadows, a sound of triumph and fearlessness rising above despair. And one by one, echoes of their memories reconciled with laughter and light. Images of passion, of grief, of abundance, and joy swirled around them, turning the darkness into shimmering sparks. Faces, once twisted, transformed to a loving glow, a wave of forgiveness washing over them. "Embrace us!" The shadows hissed one last time, their fury mounting, but they were losing ground. "Your shadows do not define us," Emma shouted, her small voice now powerful and fierce. Sam's support buoyed her, amplifying their resolve, igniting something magnificent. With one last surge, the avatar of darkness loomed tall, fury etched in a grotesque face. "You think you can leave?" "Yes, we can," Laura shouted back, her heart racing and each beat echoing like triumph. "We choose how our story ends." In their unified strength, the storm broke. The shadows recoiled and vanished, sucked back into the abyss. Light cascaded, none too blinding, warm and inviting, revealing the abandoned house. The floor beneath them shuddered, but they remained grounded in their circle. Each silhouette that had haunted them dissipated to whispers, leaving only a gentle breeze behind. The air felt different, freshened by the resolution of their fears. Finally breathing, they stepped out of the threshold of darkness together, stepping into the moonlit night, the final tears of the storm dissipating behind them. Inglewood Lane nestled silently, untouched yet forever changed. Hearts still raced, but now fueled by a fierce resilience. Hands still clasped tightly among them. "We did it!" Emma cheered, eyes wide with triumph. "I knew we would," Laura smiled, tears streaking her face, but now with relief. "We have to tell everyone," Sam added, excitement bubbling. "This place has so much healing left." They shared a quiet moment, gazing at the stars above, twinkling down as if to applaud their victory. The shadows may linger, but they learned together, only they held the power to dictate their path forward, and as they stepped away from the remnants of the house, a vow echoed deep in Laura's heart. She would never allow fear to dictate her life again. She would protect Emma, and together, they would forge new memories fearlessly. The night whispered promises of hope as they walked hand in hand into a brighter tomorrow, united, reborn. If you're just as captivated by their journey as I am, you need to subscribe now. Don't wait any longer to miss out on exclusive stories just like this. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and let us know you care. Flood the comments section with your thoughts, reactions, and theories about this incredible conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful message. Your support means everything to us. Join our community today.